I still remember the exact moment when I realized something was deeply wrong with the way I was learning trading. It wasn't during a big loss. It wasn't during a blown account. It was actually right after a win. A clean trade, perfect entry, textbook setup. I remember leaning back in my chair, staring at the chart and thinking, this is it. I've finally found it. The secret. That feeling right there is the most dangerous moment in a trader's life. Because that's the moment when you stop learning how markets really work and start chasing a fantasy instead. Most people come into trading believing there is a hidden formula, a pattern, a system, a setup that once discovered changes everything. They watch videos late at night, jumping from one strategy to another, convinced that somewhere out there is a perfect combination of indicators that turns uncertainty into certainty. And I was exactly like that. 15 years ago, I wasn't trying to master risk, psychology, or execution. I was hunting for a shortcut. I wanted the market to make sense. I wanted clarity. I wanted control. And above all, I wanted to win without suffering. Every time I lost, I told myself the same lie. I'm just missing one piece. One more indicator. One more mentor. One more strategy. I didn't realize that this belief alone was already putting me on the wrong side of the game. Back then, my days followed a predictable cycle. I'd wake up, open the charts, scan for setups, and hesitate. Then I'd see a move happen without me, feel that familiar punch in the stomach, and jump into the next trade just to avoid missing out again. Sometimes it worked, often it didn't, but regardless of the outcome, I always walked away thinking the same thing. If only I had a better system. That thought felt logical, reasonable, even responsible. But it wasn't, because it distracted me from the truth that no one wants to accept early on. Trading is not about finding a way to win more often. It's about learning how to survive uncertainty without losing yourself. At the time, I didn't see it that way. I saw trading as a puzzle to be solved, a code to be cracked. I believed that once I found the right edge, everything else would fall into place. Confidence, discipline, consistency. What I didn't understand was that I had the order completely backwards. The market doesn't reward people who find secrets, it punishes people who believe secrets exist. And this belief, the obsession with finding a winning formula, quietly destroys more traders than bad risk management ever could. I've seen it over and over again. Talented people, smart people, hard-working people. They don't fail because they're lazy or unintelligent. They fail because they're searching for certainty in a place that is built on probability. And as long as you believe the next strategy will save you, you never learn how to save yourself.
There's a specific kind of pain that only traders experience, and it doesn't come from losing money. It comes from doing everything you thought was right and still watching your account bleed. I remember a period when I was trading what I believed was a high-probability setup. I had rules, clean charts, confirmation. Everything looked professional. When it worked, I felt validated. When it didn't, I felt betrayed, not by the market, but by the system I trusted. So I did what most retail traders do. I tweaked it. I adjusted parameters, added filters, removed filters, back-tested different time frames, watched new videos, bought new courses. Every loss became proof that the system wasn't quite right yet, and every small win convinced me I was getting closer. But over time, something ugly started happening. I wasn't trading the market anymore. I was trading my hope. Each loss didn't just hurt my account, it attacked my identity. I began to associate my self-worth with whether a strategy worked. When it failed, I didn't think, that's variance. I thought, I failed. And the more I searched for a winning formula, the more fragile I became. I would hesitate on good trades because I had been burned before. Then I'd jump into bad ones because I didn't want to miss the next move. I'd increase size after a win because this time felt different. I'd hold losers longer than I should because cutting them meant admitting the setup wasn't as powerful as I believed. Looking back, the mistake wasn't technical. The mistake was psychological. I was trying to eliminate uncertainty instead of learning how to live with it. I wanted the market to obey my logic, my rules, my indicators, and every time it didn't, I took it personally. That's the real pain of chasing a holy grail. It doesn't just drain your account, it slowly erodes your ability to think clearly. The more you believe there is a perfect strategy, the harder it becomes to accept normal losses. And once you can't accept losses, discipline collapses, risk management becomes optional, emotional decisions start to feel justified. That's when trading stops being a business and turns into a quiet form of self-sabotage. The turning point for me didn't come from a book or a mentor. It came from exhaustion. One night, after another long session of reviewing charts and questioning myself, I caught a thought running through my head that stopped me cold. What if there is no winning system? Not in the sense of nothing works, but in the sense that nothing works the way I wanted it to. What if the market was never designed to give me certainty? What if my job wasn't to predict, but to manage outcomes? That question changed everything. I started looking at my trading history differently. Instead of asking, did this strategy win? I asked, did I execute it correctly? Instead of optimizing entries, I studied my reactions to losses. Instead of searching for better indicators, I focused on position sizing, drawdowns, and decision-making under pressure. And slowly, painfully, something became clear. The traders who survive aren't the ones with the best systems. They're the ones who stop needing one. They accept that losses are not mistakes, they're expenses. They stop expecting the market to validate them. They build rules not to control price, but to control themselves. The moment I let go of the idea of a secret formula, trading became simpler, not easier, but clearer. I stopped chasing certainty and started building resilience. And that shift didn't make me win more often. It made me last longer.
What most people never realize is that the market doesn't punish ignorance first. It punishes the illusion of mastery. When you believe there is a winning formula, you start behaving in ways that quietly work against you. You size up because you trust the setup. You skip stops because this one should work. You override rules because the chart looks perfect. And when it fails, you don't question your behavior. You question the strategy. This is where most retail traders get trapped in an endless loop. They confuse edge with certainty. An edge is nothing more than a statistical advantage over a large number of trades. It has nothing to do with being right on the next one. But the human brain doesn't experience probability calmly. It experiences each trade as a story, a moment, a test of judgment. And when you believe your system is supposed to win, every loss feels like a violation of that story. That's why two traders can trade the exact same strategy and end up with completely different results. One understands variance. The other is emotionally negotiating with randomness. I learned this the hard way when I finally sat down and analyzed my trades without excuses. Same setup, same market conditions, same rules on paper, but wildly different outcomes depending on my state of mind. When I trusted the system too much, I overtraded. When I doubted it, I hesitated. When I lost twice in a row, I wanted revenge. When I won twice, I felt invincible. The system didn't change. I did. That's when it became painfully obvious. The market wasn't testing my strategy. It was testing my relationship with uncertainty. Smart money understands this instinctively. Institutions don't look for strategies that win. They look for frameworks that survive. They assume drawdowns. They plan for bad streaks. They size positions so that no single trade, or even a series of them, can threaten their existence. Retail traders do the opposite. They look for confirmation that they're right. They want emotional relief. They want the anxiety to stop. And the idea of a holy grail promises exactly that. But here's the truth no one likes to say out loud.
If a strategy removes emotional discomfort, it's probably lying to you. Because trading is discomfort. It's decision-making without certainty. It's acting with incomplete information. It's accepting that even perfect execution can still result in a loss. The moment you stop searching for a system that makes you feel safe, you start building something far more powerful. Tolerance. Tolerance for losing without spiraling. Tolerance for missing trades without chasing. Tolerance for being wrong without needing to fix it immediately. This is the level where trading becomes professional, not because you suddenly understand markets better, but because you stop demanding that they behave in a way that protects your ego. One of the most important shifts I ever made was redefining what a good trade meant. It was no longer about outcome. A good trade became one where I followed my process, respected risk, and accepted the result without emotional negotiation. That single change did more for my consistency than any indicator ever did. And here's the uncomfortable part. Once you truly understand this, the search for secret strategies loses its appeal. Not because you found something better, but because you no longer need the illusion. You realize that the edge was never hidden in the market. It was hidden in how you reacted to it.
Once I stopped chasing the idea of a perfect strategy, the way I approached trading changed in very practical ways. The first thing I did was strip my process down to what actually mattered. I limited myself to one core setup, not because it was magical, but because it was simple enough to execute consistently. I stopped asking whether it would win and started asking whether I could follow it without hesitation, even after a loss. That alone exposed how often my problems had nothing to do with the market and everything to do with my impulses. The second shift was how I treated risk. Every trade became guilty until proven innocent. I assumed it could fail. I sized positions so that a loss felt boring instead of painful. When risk stopped threatening my emotional balance, decision-making became cleaner. I didn't need to be right, I needed to stay intact. The third change was learning to pause instead of react. When a trade went against me, I didn't immediately look for reasons or adjustments. I logged it. I walked away. I gave my nervous system time to settle. Most mistakes don't come from lack of knowledge, they come from acting while emotionally charged. Creating space between stimulus and action became one of the most powerful edges I ever developed. None of this made trading exciting, and that's exactly the point. Real progress in trading feels almost disappointingly quiet. There are fewer adrenaline spikes, fewer dramatic wins, fewer emotional crashes. What replaces them is something far more valuable: stability. Over time, I noticed something subtle but important. I wasn't thinking about winning anymore. I was thinking in terms of weeks, months, and risk cycles. I stopped asking how much I could make and started asking how much damage I could avoid. That shift alone changed the trajectory of my career. And this is the part most people don't want to hear. If you're still searching for a secret strategy, it's not because you haven't found the right one, it's because you're trying to escape discomfort. You're trying to avoid the hard truth that trading demands emotional maturity long before it rewards technical skill. The market doesn't owe you clarity, it doesn't owe you consistency, and it certainly doesn't owe you comfort. What it offers, silently and without mercy, is a mirror. It reflects how you handle uncertainty, loss, patience, and ego. And until you're willing to look into that mirror honestly, no strategy will save you. The biggest mistake I ever made in trading wasn't choosing the wrong setup. It was believing that the right setup would fix me. Once I let that belief go, everything else started to fall into place, slowly, unevenly, but sustainably. If this resonates with you, you're already further along than most traders, because the moment you stop chasing shortcuts is the moment you start building something real. If you want to continue this journey, not toward a secret strategy, but toward understanding yourself and the markets at a deeper level. Subscribe to the channel and stay with me. In the next videos, we'll break down why most traders fail, how smart money actually thinks, and what it really takes to survive long enough to succeed. Master yourself, and you'll finally begin to master the markets.